Hello, I'm Thomas with the Museum of Discovery. Thanks for joining us. What we're going to look at today are bubbles. Now, the reason we chose bubbles is because it's something that's very easy to do at home with some basic materials. So what you're going to want is some of your concentrated dishwashing liquid. You can really use any brand, but the more concentrated, the better. Next up, to mix your bubble solution, all you need is a small container with some water. Now, when you mix your dishwashing liquid into your water, figure out what ratio works best for your brand dishwashing liquid. So I'm going to mix some in here. The more concentrated, usually the better your solution is going to be. And what you want to create a bubble wand, if you don't have one at home, you can use a straw, but really one of the best things you can use is a little craft chenille stick, also known as a pipe cleaner. So and depending on how big you want your bubbles to be, you can do a small loop, you can do a big loop, you can even do multiple loops. So that's what I'm gonna give a go right here. So you can do multiple loops. It's not too hard to put more than one on there. Just kind of twist them on there. And then you can also use this as your stir stick, so to stir up your solution. So if you get your solution, stir it up. Now the reason the pipe cleaners work so well is because they are going to hold some extra water and bubbles and liquid, dishwashing liquid, in that fabric that surrounds that wire. So this is your basic at-home bubble solution that works pretty well. As you can see, you can blow lots of bubbles. Now, what I have is an extra ingredient mixed in here, which is glycerin, which is vegetable glycerin. This is something that you can get online. It's pretty available. And what this does is it makes your bubbles just a little bit stronger. Now, when we think about bubbles, we want to wonder, what is a bubble and why is it in the shape of a sphere, or that ball shape? Well, bubbles are filled with air, and they don't want to take the shape of a square because it has those pointy edges. A sphere is the most volumetrically efficient shape you can get. Now, that's a fancy way of saying you can fit the most amount of stuff in a sphere for the surface area around it. So you have less material on the outside and the most possible amount of material inside of it. So you have air on the inside and then a thin film of water with our bubble solution on that outside. Now what I like to do with bubbles is explore the way they behave. So bubbles are going to naturally want to sink down a little bit when you're inside because they are going to be a little bit heavy. Now when you have your wand and you blow your bubble, the reason they're heavy is because that film of water and soap solution is going to weigh it down. That water actually weighs a decent bit, so as much as you try and blow it up, it's going to want to go down. Now, if you're really wanting to get into some bubbles, what you can do is employ some fleece. Now you can use just about any fleece. I brought my old beanie from home, so this is just a little fleece cap that you can put on, but what it's going to do is it's going to create a surface that allows you to catch your bubbles. So I'm going to try and give this a go by catching a bubble, and you can see it's going to stay on the fleece. Now this is where you can start exploring some of the properties of the bubble. If you want to bounce it, you can see how long it'll stay in the air, but it still returns down because of the weight of that water along the outside. We can try that again. We can blow multiple bubbles with our second wand, and you can catch all of those. And if you catch a few of them, you can look in between the bubbles. The bubble is no longer round, but it's actually flat. So it's going to create a perfect circle, a perfect disc. When you have two bubbles that come into contact to each other, that contact patch between those two bubbles is going to be geometrically a perfect disc, which is really cool to look at. So we're going to try it with our other bubble solution just to see how that works in comparison. And if you can look real closely, you can see those shapes and you can see those harsh angles. So it's interesting to see the difference between a curved, smooth, round edge and then these flat, angular shapes on the inside of the bubble. Isn't that an unusual comparison between the two? Let's see if we can get a few more going. Let's see if we can catch that one and join it together. Ah, doesn't want to. We'll blow some more bubbles. Now I encourage you to try different pieces of fabric. So if we go back to our fleece jacket, I'm gonna blow as many bubbles on the back of this jacket as I can and see how many we can get to float. And if you do it on an incline, you can get these to even roll downhill, which is neat. So you can see how they'll join each other. Another fun thing you can do is you can get a straw, dip it into the bubble solution, pierce the edge, and you can blow bubbles in bubbles. Did you see that? How you got a bubble inside of another bubble? So it's really fun to experiment. All you need is some concentrated dishwashing liquid, some water, and some fleece. So thank you so much for joining us to learn a little bit about bubbles. I hope you have fun, and when you're all done, it's nice and clean. See you guys later.